Welcome to the Peak News. I'm Jason Lupo, guest hosting for the Watchman, Haim Goldman. He is indispensable, irreplaceable, but here I am nonetheless trying to do his job. You're listening to AM 1460, FM 101.1, The Answer. This is the Peak. We say the quiet stuff out loud. This is currently being live streamed if you want to see our beautiful faces. Facebook.com/The Peak News Media. Peak News is a truth-telling and First Amendment defending broadcast and internet news source for citizens of the Pikes Peak region, and we invite you to join us as a citizen journalist, tech, intern, guest, and or sponsor. All the info on our website, thepeak.news. This is brought to you today by Springs Dentist and Dr. Craig Summer at Holistic Dentistry in Colorado Springs. You find us on Facebook, Twitter, and on your favorite podcast site. Just search for The Peak News. On our show today is a civil discussion on ballot initiative 127, which proposes amending the Colorado statutes to prohibit the hunting or trapping of bobcats, lynx, and mountain lions, continue to permit the killing of these animals under certain circumstances, and establish penalties for violations. A yes vote on 127 would make it illegal to hunt bobcats, lynx, and mountain lions in Colorado. A no vote on Proposition 127 would continue to allow the hunting of bobcats and mountain lions as it is currently regulated by the state. Hunting lynx would remain illegal under state and federal law. So today with me I have two phenomenal guests. On the proponent side, the yes side of this issue, Miss Samantha Miller, campaign manager for Cats Art Trophies, the yes on 127. And on the opponent side, the no side, Jerry Apker, retired carnivore biologist with the Colorado Parks and Wildlife. Thank you two for joining us. We're going to start with a brief little bio on you guys. I'm going to give you guys a minute to kind of tell us who you are and why you are here speaking on behalf of this matter. So, Miss Samantha Miller, if you would like to go first.
Sure. So, I'm Samantha Miller. I'm the campaign manager for Cats Art Trophies. My background is in public policy with an emphasis in environmental policy. That's what my master's degree is in. I've worked on wildlife coexistence policies in the 11 western states. Colorado is home to me. I live up in Grand County, so it's a privilege to get to work on a yes on 127 here. Recreationally, I'm a member of Backcountry Horsemen, and I'm also a member of Rocky Mountain National Park Search and Rescue, so I'm in the backcountry a lot. Love everything that Colorado has to offer, and it's great to be here and have the opportunity to really stop this cruel and inhumane practice in hunting that we don't usually do and we don't do with other animals. So it's great to be here.
All right, and Mr. Jerry Apker.
Hi, my name is Jerry Apker. I retired from Colorado Parks and Wildlife in 2017. Started my career in 1979 with Colorado Parks and Wildlife. I was a wildlife officer in the San Luis Valley and right here in Colorado Springs. Became a supervisor up in Denver. Went back to the San Luis Valley as a supervisor, and in 2000 I was given the opportunity to become the carnivore biologist for the state. I helped develop our carnivore management plans, both for bobcat as well as mountain lions, and was involved in the lynx restoration in the state of Colorado. So I'm happy to be here to express our opposition to Proposition 127.
So as you can see, we have two very knowledgeable guests on this topic today. We are going to get to this civil discussion that we are going to have. This is Haim's vision for these ballot initiatives moving forward. You're going to hear quite a few of these on the air, on the Peak. There's more coming this week. There's more coming in the next, we are 15 days out from the election. It is coming up fast. November 5th is right on our tails. And so we're going to continue to have these civil discussions. But what we are looking to do is just have a conversation on the issue at hand, why it's so important for our voters to understand the issue, right? Why is this topic so important? That's one of the things that we're going to get to. But we want to make sure that voters come into November 5th educated and informed and ready to make a choice. And I think that is something that the Peak is doing exceptionally well. They have stepped out and done things that other media sources really haven't done and given the opportunity to have these conversations. I want to remind everybody that this is not a debate, it's a civil discussion. We're going to have more of a forum idea, so we're going to give both the proponent and the opponent side both a couple minutes for an opening statement, and then we're going to have a conversation regarding the issue, and then close with the closing statement. So this is going to be the meat of our show today, just talking about 127. As a reminder, a yes vote on this initiative, a yes vote on Proposition 127 would make it illegal to hunt bobcats, lynx, and mountain lions in Colorado, and a no vote on Prop 127 would continue to allow the hunting of bobcats and mountain lions as it is currently regulated by the state. Hunting lynx would remain illegal under state and federal law. So hang with us. This is going to be the bulk of our show today as we talk about this issue. It's an issue that is gaining a lot of recognition across the state. There's a lot of money being poured into this race on both sides. We've seen advertisements on both sides, and so we're here to bring you the meat of the debate today. We want to thank our sponsors. I'm Jason Lupo, here subbing for Haim Goldman today, the Watchman. You're listening to The Peak on AM 1460, FM 101.1, The Answer. After a short break, we will have time to dive deep into this topic of conversation. We'll be right back.
Does that mean we can talk now?
So, yes,
Yeah.
you can.
Okay.
For the mic, right, if this is the microphone,
Okay.
talk at like a 45-degree angle, probably about this far away from that
Like
mic.
this close?
Yes, perfect.
Is that close enough? I feel like I'm going to touch it with
No, that's perfect. That's great.
Okay.
You can go a little bit further away, but we want to make sure we're close up on those
Okay.
mics. And then kind of like, so, a 45-degree angle with it.
Okay. Is that my 45
So, like-
angle? Like this?
Yeah,
Yes, please.
there we go, like that.
Okay. And then talking to it.
Perfect.
Okay.
Excellent. Sweet. Good job, guys.
Yeah, at least we get a note.
So, I'm not a spokesman for anything.
Well, now you are, Jerry. It's too late. We both have the microphones in front of us.
I never should have said
You
yes.
can't bail now.
Actually, I never should have said
Actually,
yes.
you could. That would be great for me. So feel free to bail now. That's fine.
Also,
I'll take on the yes side for you, or the no side for you.
if you guys want to throw on the headphones, Matt suggested that would be a good idea. That way you could hear if you get away, if you get too far away from the microphone.
All right.
Sweet. And then your volume control is, for you, it's going to be on your right. For both of you, it's on your right. Yeah, and so you'll be able to just control with that little dial.
Okay.
Sweet.
I feel like I'm blocked from you now.
Can you hear me? Can any of you hear me?
Welcome back to the Peak News. Thank you for joining us this Monday, October 21st. I'm Jason Lupo, subbing in, guest hosting for the Watchman, Chaim Goldman, who is out of town today. We are using this entire show to talk about one issue and one issue only. That would be Prop 127, to give our listeners that are just joining us an idea of what we're talking about. A yes vote on 127 would make it illegal to hunt bobcats, lynx, and mountain lions in Colorado. A no vote on Proposition 127 would continue to allow the hunting of bobcats and mountain lions as it is currently regulated by the state. Hunting lynx would remain illegal under state and federal law. Joining me today is Jerry Apker, retired carnivore biologist for the Colorado Parks and Wildlife. Was there for 38 years. He is speaking on the opposition side of this measure. And Miss Samantha Miller, the campaign manager for Cats Aren't Trophies, speaking on the proponent side of this measure, the yes on 127. I'm going to give each of them 2 minutes for an opening statement. Why is this so critical? Why is this so important? Miss Samantha Miller, if you wouldn't mind going first.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say one of the reasons this is so important is that mountain lion trophy hunting and bobcat fur trapping are unnecessary to manage bobcat and mountain lion populations. Cat populations are self-regulating, so right now this is offered strictly as a recreational activity in Colorado. And studies have shown that the majority of Coloradans oppose this activity. 88% of Coloradans oppose the use of hounds to hunt mountain lions, and 77% of Coloradans oppose mountain lion trophy hunting. And that doesn't even include the trapping numbers, where most Coloradans also oppose fur trapping of bobcats. Bobcats can be trapped in unlimited numbers by fur trappers. Any one trapper can trap as many bobcats as they want. Last year it was a little over 900. And then with mountain lion hunting, right now it's legal in Colorado to hunt just for recreation. Mountain lions with packs of up to 8 dogs. Those dogs can wear GPS collars, and the hunter can use high-tech telemetry equipment to locate when those dogs stop, and then shoot a mountain lion from close range with a gun or a crossbow or bow. And so these activities are still legal in Colorado today. Most people don't know that they still happen across our state, and most Coloradans are opposed to it, and it's unnecessary. So that's why we say vote yes on 127. We don't need to kill these animals this way to manage them, and our measure still leaves fully intact the ability to kill animals involved in conflict. So any specific animal that's a public safety threat can be killed if needed.
All right. And Mr. Jerry Apker, if you wouldn't mind giving your opening statement here.
Sure. So I believe that this is an attack on modern wildlife management. The professionals have done a really exceptional job of managing bobcats, mountain lions in the state of Colorado. Their populations have increased since they were declared game species, from being next to extirpated in the state to being abundant and thriving right now with hunting, regulated hunting in the state of Colorado. And that kind of wildlife management is a keystone. It's a model for the rest of the world to follow, and it's proven successful. There are no species that have been declared game species that have gone into serious decline since wildlife management began as a professional activity. The North American model is a great model to follow, and it has a proven track record. We believe that mountain lion hunting with dogs is the most efficient way to identify gender, to protect females, and to help prevent overharvest. Bobcat hunting is a difficult activity. It's not trapping with leg hole traps. Those were prohibited. So it's nothing but cage traps. Those have to be hefted across the country into bobcat country. So the number of hunters that actually go after bobcats controls the amount of harvest. And all of the monitoring mechanisms that we have in place for monitoring mountain lion harvest as well as bobcat harvest are designed to prevent overharvest and decreasing the populations. We are managing them to maintain stable populations in Colorado. And it's done by professionals, and we want to see that continue. So we want people to vote no.
All right, so what I'm understanding is that kind of the yes side on this is that this is an inhumane way that's currently taking place to hunt these animals. I think you said earlier that the hunting of these animals is completely different than any other animal that we currently hunt for. Is that going back to the dogs and the tracking and how they go about doing them?
Yeah, so even back in the 1990s, the Colorado voters spoke out against hunting bears with dogs. I think Jerry was probably managing then when the voters were looking at that. And what we see are these are kind of relics of an anti-predator past and not necessarily in line with ethical hunting of today. I myself have hunted deer before. I've raised my own food. This is not hunting. It's trapping an animal in a cage with no chance of escape if you follow the Boone and Crockett fair chase principles. A cage trap isn't fair chase, nor is using dogs with high-tech GPS collars. I think that that's contrary to fair chase ethics that most hunters uphold too. I would say the other piece too is that 22 scientists, leading wildlife biologists in this country with PhDs in wildlife biology, are saying, yes, vote yes on 127. We don't need to do this to manage cats. And that includes the former director of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and also the chief of biological services for the National Park Service. So these are leading scientists that say, hey, it's okay to vote with your values and ethics on this. We don't need to do this to manage these cats. And it's cruel, it's inhumane, so it has no place in Colorado anymore.
So why, if I could just ask this question, why wouldn't the measure outlaw the use of dogs and traps versus completely outlawing just the killing of these animals in general? Like, why go to that extreme as opposed to just dealing with the inhumane nature of how they're hunting these animals?
Well, I think that's because we need these species now more than ever. Mountain lions do a great service to our ecosystems, and so do bobcats. Mountain lions will even pre-select for chronic wasting disease in deer and elk. So if you're a deer or elk hunter like I have in the past, they keep our herds healthy, which is a really great service they provide. We're living in a time of climate change and biodiversity loss. We need our apex predators to do their job. And if we don't need to hunt them, and if the primary purpose we're hunting them for is for the trophy, then we say let's stop that while empowering CPW to manage for conflict animals and supporting ethical hunting. No one's hunting these cats to fill their deep freeze. I and my friends will hunt to fill our freezer for the winter. That's what you hunt deer and elk for. No one does that with cats. It's not on the menu anywhere else.
So, Jerry, you've been with the Colorado Parks and Wildlife for 38 years. You're now retired. There was a statement made that hunting these animals is unnecessary because it kind of just takes care of itself. Is that the case that you guys have seen in Colorado Parks and Wildlife?
I think it is true that mountain lion populations will eventually self-regulate. They do. There are thresholds of social dynamics in the population, and they are primarily driven by the abundance of available prey and hunting habitat. Those are the things that tend to regulate mountain lion populations. But I disagree with the premise that the only purpose for hunting is to control populations. Hunting is a recreational activity, and I understand that people that don't hunt don't understand that because it involves the killing of an animal. But that's just the last act of hunting. All the stuff that goes into hunting, setting up camp, being out there with family and friends, pursuing the activities because it does support wildlife and wildlife management, doing it because it does put food in the freezer. All of those things are legitimate reasons for hunting that have absolutely nothing to do with population control. If population control is going to be the sole justification that's okay for hunting, then there are a whole host of species that shouldn't be hunted. And quite frankly, if you really look at wildlife populations, population dynamics, wildlife populations, all of them will take care of themselves without hunting. It's just how much starvation, how much natural death, either by claw or fang, disease, or winter kill, or starvation, how much do you want to tolerate?
Well, there you have it. We're not done with this conversation. We have much more to discuss. But at the present moment, we are going to take a brief time out. I'm Jason Lupo. You're listening to The Peak, AM 1460, FM 101.1, The Answer. We'll be right back here with Jerry Apker and Samantha Miller talking about Proposition 127.
Oh, good.
That wasn't 10 minutes.
So we could take an ear off? Is that how that?
Yeah, you can air out.
Yeah. So you can tell I was much more comfortable dealing with animals than dealing with radios.
I would much rather be with animals any day, Jerry. We probably have a lot more in common than we have.
My most fun days were spent.
I found that with
Right.
33% of the people have debated.
Oh yeah, I have to show you like what I.
The other 66%, we're still at it.
Yeah, we it probably would have been a different story with Dan. Dan's definitely said some discolored things about me, but I've only heard good things about you, Jimmy, so I appreciate you.
I try to stick to the facts.
Thank you, me too. This is where I'd rather be every time.
Oh, yeah.
Just way back country, taking the horse out,
Yeah.
fishing, like not dealing with people.
I was never good with horses, though. I had to work with horses, but it usually resulted in a horse wreck along the way, somewhere along the way.
Samantha, have you found that the people that are supporting this measure, is it nonpartisan, or is it pretty much party line?
It seemed nonpartisan to me, and that's mainly because, so I live in Grand County, which is more of a conservative area, and I have a mixed bag there, but all signature gathering phase, I traveled all around the West Slope, and I was very intentional about this because I didn't want it to be an urban-rural issue at all. So our volunteer leaders, Julia's one, we have a volunteer leader in each region that lives there full-time, that can interact with their communities, come up with community-based solutions, have conversations in their communities. So it becomes an authentic movement. I never want a policy that doesn't have support statewide. I feel like that's bad. I wouldn't have voted for the Wolves in that kind of way, but this does have statewide support, which is really cool to see. 25% of the population of Durango signed our petition to get us on the ballot, which is a lot on the West Slope over there.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm used to having a mixed bag. My dad's a hardcore Republican and my mom's a hardcore Democrat, and so I grew up like watching Bill O'Reilly and Rachel Maddow in different rooms, like with each parent. And my dad's a lifelong NRA member. My mom was a cop. Like we've got a whole mixed bag there. I'm used to having to talk
We got
across
30
lines.
seconds. Welcome back to the Peak News. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jason Lupo, filling in today for the Watchman Heim Goldman. Our two guests today, once again, Jerry Apker, retired carnivore biologist for the Colorado Parks and Wildlife, spent 38 years there. He is on the opposition side of 127, the no on 127, and Miss Samantha Miller, the campaign manager for Cats Aren't Trophies, on yes on 127. Today we are talking about 127. Just to remind our listeners, if you haven't been with us for a while, a yes vote on Proposition 127 would make it illegal to hunt bobcats, lynx, and mountain lions in Colorado. A no vote on Proposition 127 would continue to allow the hunting of bobcats and mountain lions as it's currently regulated by the state. Hunting lynx would remain illegal under state and federal law. I think that there's a common idea that mountain lion is not used for food. However, correct me if I'm wrong, Jerry, currently under state law, if you kill a mountain lion, it must be processed for human consumption. Is that correct?
Just like you would for a deer.
Okay. And so, all right, I got to give Samantha a chance to respond. So, Samantha, here's your opportunity.
No, and I would say, yes, just like you would for a deer, you have to pack out your meat, right? You have to field dress your carcass, and I think that that's what Jerry's talking about, and that's what the statute says. Prepare for consumption, pack out your meat, bring out usable meat, and you pack out your head or hide for your taxidermy mount. CPW even has a whole video on how to preserve your trophy while packing out your meat for mountain lion. But what that is it's field dressing game. No one's in the kitchen enforcing that with folks. No one's watching to make sure you eat it. No one's enforcing that in any way. But with big game, we always field dress big game. It's a wanton waste law, and it's across the country. There's laws like that in every state.
And so are you saying that people are not eating mountain lion that they kill?
Yeah, I'm saying there are a lot of people that don't eat the mountain lion that they kill, and there may be some that do. But the primary purpose of the hunt is for the trophy, and that's what the hunt is for, and that's what they're trying to preserve.
So we talked a little bit about, Jerry, did you want to respond to that for a second?
Well, I just point out that Colorado Parks and Wildlife also has videos for care of deer and elk carcasses, how to cape out an animal in order to preserve the mount, if somebody wanted to do a taxidermy mount. And the most memorable trophy hunt that I ever went on was the first elk that my son killed, and he still got the hide. That's the trophy from the hunt, but we ate it, just like people do with mountain lions.
Well, I think that there's a lot of hunters that believe that if they kill it, they should eat it. I think most of the hunters that I've ever interacted with believe that if you hunt it, you should eat it. And I do know people who have shot mountain lions, and all of them have eaten their mountain lion, said it was one of the best meats they've ever had. So I do understand that there might be some people out there that maybe will not eat the mountain lion that they kill, but I think that there are a lot of people that do eat those mountain lions.
Yeah, and I think that's fine, but that's not the primary purpose for hunting lions. You know, we're not hunting them to put them on the dinner table. I don't know of anyone that's a hunter, at least in my community, and I live in rural Grand County, that says, man, can't wait to bag me a delicious mountain lion this winter. It's elk, deer, that's subsistence hunting, pronghorn. Elk is the bread and butter of hunting in the state, and it's a completely different species, prey species, much different than apex predators.
Does this kind of prevent, though, a rancher that has cattle that's constantly being killed by these animals, by these mountain lions, by these cats, from then going and pulling their permit and getting rid of the mountain lion that is costing them thousands of dollars?
No, absolutely not. So what Prop 127 does is it leaves fully intact all of the existing conflict provisions that exist right now. So nothing would change about managing conflict animals. What changes is that recreational portion that we've been talking about. It stops the recreational harvest. And the overwhelming body of scientific research really shows that the recreational harvest is not necessary to manage populations. And some of it even shows that it can increase conflicts with people, pets, and livestock. So for me, as someone who recreates in the backcountry with my horse often, the lion I don't see is my friend. I don't want to see that lion. It's a good lion. It's out there doing its job. What happens right now with these lions is they're killed indiscriminately by houndsmen. These aren't experts. And to go to the hounds for selecting, Jerry had mentioned earlier that we use hounds so we can determine if this is a female cat and then presumably release it. But last season we killed 47% female cats, so we're not releasing it.
Yeah. Well, I'm Jason Lupo. You're listening to The Peak on AM 1460, FM 101.1 The Answer. Coming up, we're going to continue this conversation after taking this brief time out in your local news break. Hang with us.
Nope, now we're hanging again. I'll let you. Can you just raise a finger if I need to shut up so Jerry can talk too? Because I don't want to take away.
No, I'm gonna give him an opportunity
Okay.
next. We're gonna even it out. We'll get even.
Not get even, but even time,
Well,
Jerry.
yeah,
I don't want to take your time either.
Do you know Rob Firth or any of the guys that are up there, old retired game wardens and stuff?
No, I know Jeremy though. That's up there, Jeremy Huntington.
Oh, okay. Jeremy was down
How many
there
breaks
for
are there,
a
like,
while.
how long
Yeah,
is it
yeah. And he's had a
There's
lot of
6
issues with
segments.
stuff.
This is not my show, so I'm
So I've just been
learning
trying
as
to
I
help
go.
people.
That's right, you're still working.
But
there.
7 minutes, 10 minutes, 4 minutes,
I know Merritt
12
Markey
minutes
well,
is
too.
the next
Yeah.
segment.
Before
And then
I
they're
took
pretty
on
much
this measure, I
done.
called him
We
and
have
he's like, I'm
7.5
really opposed to it,
minutes.
But let me help however I can. And so that's
And
what
then
I did was start doing
the
great
closing of
funding
2.5 minutes.
in the community too for non-lethals, for
Yeah.
fencing.
And like
for,
this news, how long
Yeah,
is
and
the
all that
news?
good stuff. And then I
I
just
think
carry
it's like-
box lights around in the
it's-
back of my truck too.
It was already over. It was like a minute.
Like That's what I appreciate is that we have a whole crew of people now across the state that want to show up and help
Yeah.
too, which is nice. But yeah, Merritt and I have been together for a long time.
30 seconds. Welcome back to the Peak News. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Jason Lupo, co-hosting, substitute hosting for Hein Goldman, who is out, the Watchman. This is the Peak News. We say the quiet stuff out loud. Today we are once again talking about Prop 127. You're probably getting tired of hearing this. A yes vote on Proposition 127 would make it illegal to hunt bobcats, lynx, and mountain lions in Colorado. A no vote on Proposition 127 would continue to allow the hunting of bobcats and mountain lions. As it is currently regulated by the state, hunting lynx would remain illegal under state and federal law. And I know that there's some of you guys out there going, what does a lynx look like? And you're Googling it right now. Don't worry, I did the same thing like a month ago. Like, what does a lynx look like? Do we even have those in Colorado? Found out we do. We have like 250 of them, right?
75 to 100.
Only 75 to 100.
Yeah, the latest report, yeah.
Wow, so Google was lying to me.
Well, there was an old report you
Old
probably saw.
information.
In the San...
Mostly in the San Juans.
Okay, alright. So, a shrinking population of
Well,
lynx.
I don't think so. I think it was just an overestimate initially.
Okay. I kind of want to go out and try to find one. Like, that's...
I believe in you. That would be very hard.
I don't want to
but
hunt
it'd
it.
be
I just want
interesting to watch.
I just want to see it. Like, I just want to put my eyes on a lynx. They exist. I want to see it.
I have a picture of me holding one.
Do you really?
Yes.
Okay. From the zoo?
No.
That doesn't count.
He was in the
Pre-release.
field.
Yeah, pre-release,
Okay.
yes.
Yes. 38 years at Colorado Division of Parks and Wildlife, you've probably held just about every animal imaginable.
Almost.
And you've made contact with bears.
Yes.
Sounds like one heck of an experience. Not a job I want to sign up for. Well, anyways, we have two amazing guests with us. Jerry Apker, retired carnivore biologist, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and Miss Samantha Miller, campaign manager, Cats Aren't Trophies. All right, so we talked before this last break about cats and mountain lions specifically in the meat, and we had this conversation about hunting. I wanted to give Jerry an opportunity to respond if you have anything to add to that portion of this conversation.
Well, I wanted to step back to the comment that you were asking Samantha about the depredating lions and how that's still going to be legal. I think if this passes, there's going to be much less tolerance by the ranchers, farmers over mountain lions, because they're not going to be eligible for game damage payments for compensation for lost livestock. And that includes the hobby stock alpacas and llamas, goats, and then domestic sheep, and then calves, occasionally, very rarely, a young horse. So they're not going to be eligible for game damage. So I think that there's going to be much less tolerance. And then the wildlife officers will then be going out with packs of dogs that are supposedly inhumane, and we're going to be pursuing them. I say we, I'm retired, but wildlife officers are going to be pursuing them, treeing them, and shooting them. And they're probably not going to bother taking care of the carcass. It's just going to be left to waste out there.
So in other words, if a hunter isn't taking care of it, the Colorado Division of Parks and Wildlife are going to have to step in and deal with these situations.
And most wildlife officers have to deal with them currently, but there's going to be much less tolerance for it, so I think it's going to happen more frequently.
Because ranchers are going to be afraid to take matters into their own hands. Is that kind of the thought
Well,
process?
then
They don't want to be
they're not
prosecuted.
going to be compensated for their losses. So why tolerate the animal when, in this day and age, you can tolerate it being pursued, chased, left alone, rather than being killed?
All right, Samantha, you look like you were just itching for a response here.
I'm always itching for a response. No, I think that the compensation portion can be solved with the stroke of a pen at the legislature. this coming session. So in order to change the statute, a bunch of technical lawyery type things had to happen, but legislative session can put that back in place. We're working with nonprofits on gap funding for that, and what we saw within the Blue Book was that the losses were minimal. About $23,000 in losses last year were paid out, so we're fully ready to work with ranchers and work with the ranching community. In fact, I just got a grant the other week to go work with a rancher in my community who had lost alpacas to a mountain lion and improve his fencing and work within our community to do that. And thankfully, we've got 900 volunteers across the state who are all committed to seeing this through and put in non-lethals. And to the point about a hunter doing it instead of a Colorado Parks and Wildlife officer, like Jerry said, is Colorado Parks and Wildlife responding to problem lions right now? So what's happening with recreational hunters, it's like a crime control strategy of shooting into a crowd. You're not controlling anything, you're killing an animal indiscriminately. But Colorado Parks and Wildlife is who responds to conflict lions and who would continue to respond to conflict lions under Prop 127.
So I think, yes, I did read the fiscal note that the compensation or the damages were minimal. I know that we saw from the wolves that there was ranchers that were not feeling like they were compensated adequately for the death of their livestock from the wolves. Are we going to see this same issue take place with these cats?
I would say that right now, ranchers know cats. They live with cats. In my community, we've all lived with cats for a long time. We do have this great commonality in Colorado where mountain lions and bobcats are in counties across our state. And we're living with them in Boulder County, and we're living with them in Mesa County and Grand County. So we know how to do that well. It's an animal we do know how to live well with. I think wolves are a completely different species, different animal, different question. Our question's a question about ethical hunting practices, whether we should continue doing this when we don't need to for management. The wolf question was a question of reintroduction, and I, quite honestly, am not happy with how it's played out either. So I think it's a totally different question for the voter.
Jerry, do you have a response to this?
Well, I think part of this presents this rural-urban divide issue, and at least in the area that I live in, Colorado, Monte Vista, San Luis Valley, most of the rural residents down there are quite disgusted over the fact that generally it's the metropolitan areas, the vote that carries, that changes the laws in the state of Colorado that apply to them, to all the parts of Colorado, and the most impacted folks are the folks that are living in rural areas. And you have to remember that mountain lion and most bobcat trapping doesn't occur in places where there's lots and lots of people. It occurs in the rural parts of the state, and that's where most of the houndsmen are located, that's where most of the hunting occurs. And with mountain lions, they deliberately pick to hunt in places where there aren't a lot of roads and there's not a lot of fragmented ownership, because the last thing you want is your hounds to be running across somebody's property that doesn't want hunting. Then you're hunting without permission, hunting on private property without permission, so they're going to break the law. So they stay away from those kinds of places.
So I've got this like resounding question in my head that's popped up from this conversation. We talk about you had a conversation about self-regulation, that eventually these animals will self-regulate. Right now, the population of mountain lions is roughly how many?
3,800 to 4,400 cats.
Okay. Now, if we stop hunting today, do we self-regulate? Is the population going to self-regulate at 3,800 to 4,400, or is it going to self-regulate at 6,000?
I'd let Jerry take the first stab at that one.
Yeah, well, I'm the one that did the modeling that came up with the estimate of 3,800 to 4,400 lions in the state of Colorado. It has been revised since then, and it's probably closer to 4,000 to 5,000. What is likely to happen over the next 7 to 10 years is there will be an immediate increase in the lion population. You can't deny that. All of a sudden there's going to be 500 more mountain lions this next year. There won't be 500 more the year after that, and there won't be 500 more the year after that. The population will begin to decrease its reproductive potential. That's the way wildlife populations tend to respond. As the population grows and as there's more competition for food and available hunting habitat, then there'll be fewer females breeding and there won't be as many young mountain lions coming into the landscape. But there still will be young lions coming into the landscape, and there still will be this blood competition between mature animals and juvenile animals competing for space, breeding rights, prey. All of that's going to occur. So nobody knows exactly where the population will land. It probably won't land at 20,000.
But it may land at 7 or 8. We may double what we currently have.
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay, so
It may land at 6,000
okay,
or 7,000.
so we're looking at 25, 30, 35% increase, somewhere between 25 and 35% increase what we currently have.
That would be my gut reaction.
Okay.
But nobody knows really for sure. And it's going to depend upon available prey and available habitat.
So Samantha, you're itching again.
I'm not itching. No, I think Jerry is what Jerry's really saying is that they do stabilize themselves. You know, at the end of the day, it'll take a little bit of time, but then they'll stabilize themselves. And the cool thing that'll happen is that we'll stop disrupting their social structures. So right now when we're trophy hunting, we go in, we kill an animal, and it disrupts the social structure of a whole ecosystem. And so different younger cats come in, they're more likely to be involved in conflict. This actually lets cats manage themselves and self-stabilize like we talked about earlier. We wouldn't see a huge population growth. You'd see a little spike at the beginning when hunting's removed, and then it stabilizes out. We can look at California as an example of that. We've done a lot of research in California since the 1970s, really, looking at how the California mountain lion population has stabilized over time, and they don't allow hunting there.
So I do want to bring this up. You guys are going to have about 30 seconds to answer this question each. We're going to stabilize at a higher number. What is the cost of that? I mean, do we see a lot less deer when we start increasing mountain lion population? What is the cost of stabilizing at 6,000 versus 4,400? Jerry, I'm going to let you take the first stab at it.
Well, there will be increased predation on deer. That's just a fact. But there'll be increased predation on a whole suite of animals that are out there. It won't be just deer, and so deer don't bear the entire brunt of it. But it's not necessarily going to cause a complete decrease in population. Predation is not like butter over toast across the landscape. It is unevenly distributed, and it's unevenly distributed over the species that they select for.
All right, and Samantha, I'm going to give you a chance to respond to this right after the break.
Okay, so it's good.
Thank you for joining us once again. This is The Peak on AM 1460, FM 101.1, The Answer. We're going to continue this conversation. Hang with us. I'm Jason Lupo, guest hosting for the Watchman Hein Goldman. Don't leave. This is just getting exciting. Hang with us.